Holy cow, it's absolutely a beautiful day in Sullivan County. Finally got some sun. Finally not too raw. Oh, good morning. Good morning. How are you this morning? This is Charles, Chuck, Charlie Chaz from CGM3 Productions. How are you all this morning? Got exciting things to tell you about the last couple days. Obviously, you're gonna be seeing this a little bit more. It's an amazing day yesterday. And obviously it's a double header to say the least on this episode. Now it could be an entry and it could be definitely a podcasting way, and it's in certain dynamics. Now, let's get through it yesterday. First of all, I got to thank my brother from another mother, and I know she's up there. She's watching. My third grade teacher, Mrs. Stevens. Jerry and I grew up for a long, long time, and we've been avid baseball fans. We've been from Major League Baseball. Obviously, he's a dedicated Mets fan, but that's okay. I used to be, I still am. I'm still part of legends with the Yankees, but the old New York Yankees, okay, when they were playing. But since now everything kind of changed a lot, I'm more of the minor league. So I'll do that in a little bit. But this here was yesterday. I went to the Holy Grounds in Cooperstown, New York, the amazing, amazing place called the Baseball Hall of Fame. Now, I could tell you this, for years upon years, I've done, frequent trips, up to Cooperstown, whether it's been a health related thing with my mom, but we never really got there. We go to the Bassett Hospital for cancer treatment. Yes, ironically, mom had breast cancer. She was in remission, and obviously, so many years ago, she passed away due to um, terminal stomach cancer. So, that being said, that trip kind of brought back some many memories in the back roads, and really just enjoy the day. And it was completely enjoyable in one way or another. And then just feeling free, just feeling amazing, and just feeling the wealth about it. A little walking here or there it didn't hurt. I kept my steps up. My protein was up. In fact, they had this most amazing vegan burger at one of these places. So yeah, proteins are there. I'm not saying I'm going totally vegan yet, but it was absolutely amazing up there. And then I'll tell you about this one hat place, and it just it's like kind of towards the end of that. But going to, you know, seeing Doubleday Field again. We didn't go into Doubleday Field, but we saw the pictures, and it's like, yep. And I looked at that stadium and said, "Hello, beautiful." And I go to Cooperstown, and fun facts. There was a couple things up there with Yearly, and let's take a step back for a little bit. Um, Years ago, when I was in college, when I was heading up to Buffalo State, um, another brother of mine, and he's now living in Ohio, Jeff. Thank you. We did a road trip before we went to Buffalo State. We stopped at the hallowed grounds of the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Now, I had pictures of both of us and everything else, and then there was a big uh, display of the original class with all the All Stars, including Babe Ruth. I'm glad that's still there. It was absolutely its true meaning. And then years come and go. Graduated, worked at WVOS, WZAD, WVOS, and then I want to do something when I had the time. So on a yearly event, I usually go up to Cooperstown to see the National Baseball Hall of Fame. I mean, it's a must. It's beautiful. Let me tell you something. It is so beautiful up there. The weather was absolutely amazing. Again, this was like young and budding beforehand. Now here we are in 2026. Again, two Tri Valley alums. Obviously, I was the baseball manager. He played in the field. Great player too, I got to tell you. And we're just, mesmerized. So we get up there and obviously greeted by wonderful, wonderful staff of the Hall of Fame. And in fact, one guy and I we're just chit chatting away. He noticed that I had the Herkimer County Community College jacket on, the winterized jacket. And he said, "Hey, I know that jacket." I'm like, "Yeah, I know that, because, yeah, I was part of that team." And he goes, "You were part of Jack Aloff's team?" I was like, "Yep." Mm-hmm. From 1986 to 1988. In 1987, we were we went to nationals in Hutchinson, Kansas, fourth in the nation, great times. So we chatted there and said, well, he said in the present day, "Welcome to Cooperstown again. Thanks for stopping by. Just check out the entirety." And obviously there's some things been, behind the scenes. They're doing some little maintenance work, and it looked absolutely amazing. So, we go floor by floor. And then I really want to get to the heart of the matter. Obviously, we went to see the plaques, but we went up to the third floor, in which more of the stats were there, where we grew, what we grew up from: Hank Aaron, Babe Ruth, Ron Guidry, and remembering the ones who passed, like Roberto Clemente. They didn't really feature about Thurman Munson, one of my all-time favorite players, my all-time favorite Yankee players, the catcher, the captain. And, lo and behold, we did with this. Obviously, they were showing the theater work, but I said, no, I'm more interested in the museum. Besides, I watched so many baseball movies. I said bits and pieces of, Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner, Major League, which has always been a bountiful hit. And then I'm like playing like Wild Thing on the pictures with the social media. You got to check it out. The art was totally amazing. Both Jerry and I had a picture next to Tom Seaver. If you didn't realize who that was, I'm gonna be posting that a little bit later. But there's a picture of me and of Tom Seaver, and there's a connection with that because my uncle, my godfather, who worked as a freelance, in the advertising, in New York City, did some things with, for some of the baseball players. He gave me an autographed baseball of Chris Chambliss. I think it was Chris Chambliss. It was Chris, yeah, Bucky Dent, and the legendary Tom Seaver. Now, they're icons. They're true icons. They're true players of the city. Be either as a Mets fan, Yankee fan, or all around New Yorker fan. That's absolutely amazing. So we went around and did this. I'm like, gee, I wonder if they have, certain shirts. And I'm like, really, I'm not saying obsessive, but I had this Thurman Munson t-shirt. And again, they had it there. I said, I gotta have it. It's kind of replacing a few things that it meant at the time. Now, going from the major leagues and just seeing, the certain items there, it was absolutely amazing. And obviously this Joel jersey, this jersey is like a replica, but it's also, you hear the laughs of Abbott Costello with Who's on First. Again, who's on first? What's on second? I don't know. Third base. You got to hear the audio cast, or you got to see the movie, their classic movie, and see their routine. It's completely hysterical. Completely hysterical. And one of the t-shirts I said, yeah, I have to get, this is one of those t-shirts that mean a lot. So anyway, that was a, major part of the trip. And, so we went around to the shops, and, we met a few people that had some tight connections. We met a sales associate called Baseballism. Great shop. You have to check out. And do you realize he's part of a local band? He does this band. Fun fact. It's like, wow, it's called, and they're locally known as Herring and the Hummingbird. So there's a shout out to those guys, and they play around in the region. I know Tango Cafe plays with had numerous events with them. I know, certain other places, and they're a regional band. So, absolutely. So we start chatting and whatnot, and say, "Oh yeah, you're from that." Yeah, it's like, "Oh really? I didn't know." So I said maybe one of these days, when I get a chance, I definitely want to check them out. So be surprised. We're going to see that, in maybe the next few weeks. So it was a good day. So we stopped, had lunch, amazing lunch again. It was absolutely looking good. It was like we were, filled up, had my ginger ale, had my water, been peeing, obviously urinating a lot of water. I hate to put that there because that's what the doctor said. Drink, you know, hydrate yourself, drink, you got to do this, especially where in my condition with pancreas and the liver. Now, it was pretty cool. So we get up to a certain other spot. I said, mm. I said, we're looking around some other things. I said, okay, there's one place in Cooperstown that have all the major league and minor league hats. Okay? Major league and minor league. So I asked the gentleman, I said, where did I get it? I said, oh, that's Mickey's right up the road. I said, okay, we'll go to Mickey's. And I'm thinking, okay, obviously I'm thinking Mickey Mantle, I'm thinking other Mickey, but this was I go hat crazy, okay, because I actually have bald head and everything else, whether it be football, NHL, basketball, local high school, um, but more or less, I'm more prone to the minor leagues. And that's where the home base started. Even the independent leagues back in the day, where there could have been the Sullivan Mountain Lions or the Catskill Cougars back in the day. And obviously, the legit ones, like the New York Penn League / Long Eight Ball, Hudson Valley Renegades. I did see like Brooklyn Cyclones merchandise down there. I've seen some of the Long Eight Ball that I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. But there was like definitely part of the other leagues, like the double. There's double A and then there's the triple A. Now I'm a huge fan of triple A ball. Okay, so there's two amazing teams that I support on both sides of the coast. Obviously, the International League with the Buffalo Bisons. Okay, I graduated at Buffalo, out of Buffalo State. I covered a few games up there. Beautiful, beautiful ballpark. And it's like, so I had this old Bison t-shirt. So I kind of refreshed myself and kind of evolved, got that. And then obviously moving out to the West and seeing and say, I wonder if they have the Sacramento River Cats. Pat, Tom, KNCI, Sports Radio, you know who you are. Unfortunately, yes, they did. Got myself a River Cat hat again to restock again. Because like I said, I wore it. And keep this in mind, Sacramento, during the hot months, oh my gosh, it's like hot and dry. And that's where I really got more of my weight taken off on it. By the way, ironically, it was one of the best things. So I kept that. And then, but there's always some certain keepers. So here we are back, coming back over here. And I said, did all this work. And obviously this happened. And, it's a little, like I said, it's a little bit about a year and 1 month that I had this condition. And believe me, last week was my 26th round, my bye week, which was it's been an absolutely amazing journey. By the way, blood work went well, and I got to see Dr. Modi tomorrow with the chat and whatnot, and where we're going from here. So it was definitely an outing that I needed. It was an outing that my brother needed. And thank you, Jerry, again. You're the best. And I really appreciate it because both of us were avid baseball fans. We're not, I may not be I'm an all around New Yorker. What can I tell you? So, actually, by the way, I am looking forward to in a few weeks of a certain trip, which I'll tell you in a few weeks. Can't wait to tell you that. That's a teaser, so it's going to keep it open. But it's basically in the Bronx. I don't know. But any rate, here's the here and now. Here's the deal today. So the day after, I'm fully rested up. I'm psyched because at the later this afternoon, while the kids are going to school and doing their thing, there's an important softball game, varsity girls softball game locally in the area, and of two notable their rivalries. They are two respected. Obviously, next week is more important in one way, but this time, this is the most important game of every life. You see, I may be battling pancreatic cancer and liver cancer, stage 4, metastatic, yet this is to a coach that I knew forever. We went to the same school district from Tri-Valley, intelligent. He knew how to play. He knew how to play. He's an athlete, and his upbringing is great. Has a sister, which is great. Parents are fantastic. In fact, a referee at that, right shy. Okay, we're going to leave it like that. But what really blew me away when one of my friends told me that he has the same condition that I have. And thank goodness, I really don't want to go into the stages part, but it's lesser known. And you wonder, how do we battle these things? So, Kurt, I'm looking forward to seeing you later. Looking to give you some inspiration and definitely seeing these wonderful people. As I bring this up, I'm showing two respected schools that I did. First of all, this is my alma mater. Go Bears. And this is the classic one, by the way. Classic red and blue. Yes, and I bleed red and blue every time. But thanks to Rick Ellison, the coach. Now, this is like back in WVOS days when I was covering basketball, football, and whatnot. And this is up from an up-and-coming thing. Guess what? I support these two school districts big time. And I can tell you right now, doing sports in the Western Sullivan League, in the Orange County Interscholastic League, with all the divisions and everything else, from Class AA to Class D, you're all winners. And when I covered sports at WVOS, this was one of those rivalries. So for the girls, it's definitely, they're both winners. But the true winner, I can tell you right now, is Coach Kurt Scheibe. Okay? Looking forward to that benefit. Looking forward to show my support. As a matter of fact, I'm going to wear I was obviously going to wear the hat, but I had my varsity jacket back in the day. So we're going to go, definitely going to do that. And my heart is always full. My heart is happy. I get to do something very passionate in what I believe and supporting a bigger cause. And that's what we all should be doing. Right now, at any rate, whether you have Crohn's or any legit illness, you have to keep on fighting. Imagine you're at a baseball game or you're playing your baseball game. You're either pitcher or, a hitter, And I always think about myself as being the hitter. I mean, I always played right field long time ago, so go figure that out. That's another story at another time. But when you get up to bat and you see the bases loaded, I want to hit the softball, hit the baseball as hard as I could, clear it, and saying that's a grand slam. But at the same time, sometimes strikeouts can be a very advantage part of it because we are striking out for cancer. We are definitely taking something together and striking this disease out forever. This is what I'm telling you. This is basically good competition, great sportsmanship, the best perseverance of anyone to endure. Now, keep this in mind, and I don't want to brag about this, but it's a legacy in mine that there's from best attitude to my recipient days of back in 1986, 40 years ago, mind you. I was a recipient for the Male Perseverance Award. I keep looking up there and looking up that trophy, and I said, thank you to my peers. Thank you for, everything what's being done. And I persevered a lot with a lot of sportsmanship and whatnot, but it made me who I am today, as tough as nails, as disciplined as I can get in fighting this thing. So, and this is the biggest fight ever. So, when you come to a certain, um, benefit or whatnot, always think about that. It's not about the school. It's not about the teams. It's about that person in particular. And that's where you show support, the amazing, agility and how we as human beings connect together with a lot of love, peace, friendship, and definitely comforting and compassion. That is basically what I'm telling you right now. It's basically a compassion that we need to raise the bar ever so much. So as far as I'm concerned, with Kurt and myself, we are winners. And it's a win getting up every day, whether you're at a job or recuperating or doing, just living life. And that's the more important thing. You live life to the fullest. You make it the best day. You raise the bar in every which way. And coming from a legendary coach, obviously, and this is like one of my favorite ones that I grew up every time when I start hearing that, his speech, and even from Dick Vitale. So prayers to Dick Vitale as well. Um, but Jimmy Valvano. And one thing that really stuck out of my mind, don't give up. Don't ever give up. Cards are on the table. You make sure you're at a game. You either strike out for cancer or win one for the team, go for that grand slam and defeat cancer or any disease that you can think of. So, on that note, I can't wait until later. I can't wait until I see my alma mater, my buddies, and being on that supporting role, and it's going to be a great time. And thank goodness to the Lord above and the heavens above. It's a sunny day. It's blue skies in Jeffersonville. But guess over the land in Bear Country, it's going to get even better. So on that note, I'm counting down the hours and looking forward to this amazing event. And on that note, I'm going to say my farewells for now. I'm not saying goodbye yet. Not saying there's no way out of that word. I will see you later. Okay? And we will meet again. Guaranteed we will meet again. So, on that note, peace, love, and win. And just never give up. This is Charlie Chaz from CGM3 Productions in baseball mode, Abbott Costello, and the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Hope to see you there. If not, we'll be in touch again. Peace.